Few high school seniors in the country saw their stock rise as high and as quickly as Booker Pickett Jr.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We are free, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're also free on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I mentioned risers. So the final 24/7 class of 2024 rankings came out. Miami saw a big rise from Marquise Lightfoot, who was number 60 in the previous rankings, got all the way up to number 34. Booker Pickett Jr., who is he's taken the recruiting services by storm with the great Polynesian Bowl he just had, the great All American Bowl, had 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and interception combined in those games. He was previously unranked in the top 24/7. He moves all the way up to number 143. I still think he's underrated. I have a feeling one of our guests today will agree with me on that. But first, on this Truth Teller Tuesday, let me introduce the Truth Teller himself, Bruce Warner. Bruce, I know you brought a friend today, sir, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and this topic is, and what you brought up about Booker Jr., the perfect person to talk about it. His dad, my friend Booker Pickett Sr. joins us on the show today. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning, guys.
Hey, this excitement is unbelievable. Your kid is all over the place. He's on every podcast. He's in every one of the Canes shows. Everybody's talking about him. But they're also talking about his weight. So let's talk about your son and how excited you are for him. Let's start with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm extremely excited for him. Booker has worked extremely hard over the past, all of his life, basically, but especially over the past 4 years. And he's been that the weight question has been out there since his freshman year. But he's a terror. I mean, his freshman year in high school, he walked on the field, took a position from a junior on the first freaking kickoff or whatever, the first defensive series, and he's been on the field ever since. So he's going to be one of those guys that's going to have a chip on his shoulder just because the critics or whoever the naysayers are saying, oh, he's undersized and his weight may be an issue. But listen, he
a ton of sacks.
Yeah, he did.
Well, real numbers like 20 something and 30 something. Listen, unreal.
Yeah, they were real. As a freshman, he had 8 sacks, and then as a sophomore, he had 22 sacks. And he told me, he's like, "Dad, I'm gonna get 30 next year." And I'm like, "Listen, if you get 10, I'm happy." I was nervous for him, Alex. I was completely nervous because he set the bar so high. I was like, man, there's no way 30 sacks is going to happen. That's what I was thinking, but he proved me wrong. So and that's the kind of guy the Hurricanes are getting in Booker.
I love that. And of course, being a Miami Hurricane, it's the family business. You played in Miami in the 90s. So I'm curious though, for your son's recruitment, who else was really in it for him, and kind of like how early on did he decide? And I'm sure the family was influential in that decision. Like how early on did Booker decide Miami's the place for me?
Well, he always, it wasn't early, to be honest. He's always, obviously, me and my wife both are alums, so he's grown up Miami football. But he was kind of a rebel, right? So early on in the process, he liked Florida State, he liked Ohio State, and he also liked Georgia. And so me and my wife were like, "Hey, listen, that's your decision. I don't personally care. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to be comfortable with the environment that you choose." So we kind of laid back and allowed him to make that decision on his own.
Well, that's really cool.
We had Tolbert Bain on a while ago, and we asked Tolbert about his nephew Ruben, and he said, we asked him, "When do you think Ruben decided he was going to be a Cane?" And his answer was, "At birth."
Hey, hey, maybe that is true with Cannon. So we'll see.
Oh, there you go. We'll definitely circle to Cannon as well, because you talk
Yeah,
about a talented family, right? So, but Booker, his other son, Cannon, is a top offensive lineman in the class of 2026. His nephew, DJ, is a top defensive back in 2025. Not to mention Booker, who's been rising up the rankings. And okay, so I'd love to know, with Booker Jr., we always hear stories about, how relentless of a recruiter Mario Cristobal is, and just how hard he works at that. Jason Taylor was also very much involved in this process. What was it like, the visits, the contact with people like Mario and Jason Taylor? Anything you can share from that process, Booker?
I can share that they're relentless. They are full throttle. They don't leave any stone unturned. They're very enthusiastic. They really recruited Booker harder than any other coaching staff. Text messages, the visits, the calls. They're all in. Mario is probably say, a lot of coaches come in during this process, but Mario was like consistent, enthusiastic, and genuine. So the Miami recruiting machine is all that you hear about and more. Jason Taylor came in, and Jason Taylor's the same. He's more reserved than Mario, but he's a pounder as well. So the combination, I think, of at least for our experience, of Jason and Mario, it's a great team, great tandem together, and it was them who kind of got Booker over to Miami side.
Let me ask you this, if I can. Let's go backwards a little bit.
Sure.
When he had his rankings were low, what was the family saying? What were you saying? You played here. He's like, what's wrong with you people? He's my son. Look what he did.
Yeah. And I try not to say too much because he already has a chip on his shoulder. But yeah, here's a guy. Here's a guy. Let's look at this. All right, he comes on the scene as a freshman. 8 sacks. He's a freshman All-American, Max Prep All-American. His sophomore year, he does the same thing. So Max Prep All-American, 22 sacks. His junior year, same thing, Max Prep All-American, 30 sacks. And I'm like, what more does he have to do to prove that he's legit? But yet there were still a lot of the recruiting services that rated him lower for whatever reason. He just used that as fuel. It is what it is. What matters is when he laced up the cleats of Greentree, what he does there. But yeah, it was a little disappointing. To see some of the guys, even the guys that he was competing against in the Under Armour game, and who were top rated guys, and he's seen these guys, he's competed against them for like 2 or 3 years. So he was like, man, he's like, Dad, they can't catch me, they can't block me, they can't see me. I was like, what more do I have to do? And I was like, man, just keep your head down and keep working. So I'm happy to see that at the end of the process, he is getting a little more respect. And like I said, he's just going to use that as fuel for his future.
Yeah, and I want to continue this conversation.
And how skinny were you when you got to Miami? Or you were thick?
Actually, no, man. I was when I got to Miami, I was 202 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a linebacker, I was 202. And by the end of that first semester, I was about 220, So he's actually large. He's bigger than me when I went to the U. So it happens. He might be a late bloomer with the weight, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I got some thoughts again on the way this recruiting process goes, because it's very political, and there's a lot more stuff I want to get into with Booker Pickett Sr., who joins us here on Locked On Canes, because he was a Cane himself, and he played with some absolute killers in the 1990s. Not Booker was one of those guys as well, but we got so much to get to, my friends. You want to keep it locked right here. We got Booker Pickett Sr. and the Truth Teller on a Truth Teller Tuesday right here on Locked On Canes. And I know you guys are keeping it locked to FanDuel. We got the conference championship games coming up. It's not too late to get in on the NFL action at FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. right here at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. That's the best way to find popular parlays, player props, and so much more. So I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens, 3.5-point favorites at home against Kansas City. San Francisco 49ers, 7-point favorites at home against the Lions. You can find it all at FanDuel. What you guys want to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making this Truth Teller Tuesday episode of Locked On Canes your first listen today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And guys, Locked On has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming sports channel live on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today. It's on 24 hours a day. There's always something. I pop in there every now and then, the local and national experts. Check out Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube. Alex Donno and Bruce Warner joined by Booker Pickett Sr. Now, Booker, we talk about, again, I was completely confounded by the fact that that your son was so underrated during the process. It reminded me a little bit. Now, obviously, Ruben Bain was very highly regarded, but I still thought he was underrated last year. Like, how was that dude not a 5-star? You saw him wreaking havoc. So I think there are definitely some parallels there with your son. And I look at it, Booker, and hopefully you agree on this. I think Miami's scouting department, from Alonzo Highsmith to Cristobal on down, does a pretty darn good job not living and dying by the star system and the rankings, because they clearly saw something in Booker before the nerds at 24/7 and On3 figured out how good he was.
You're absolutely right. They've actually been on Booker since Mario got there. It's clear that, and Mario, he brought us in his office and said, "Hey, man, you're a player. And I'm not just saying this because I played with your dad, but you're on your own. You are a player." And they noticed the talent as well. Highsmith actually was with my younger brother up in Green Bay when my brother was playing for the Packers. Highsmith was working in the front office. Those two, were great friends. So Alonzo kind of already knew the family. So he also helped in that evaluation as well. And yeah, they did a great job. They in my opinion, I'm biased because that's my son, but I think they found the gem.
Yeah. So where do you think he's going to play? Did they say anything to you? Are they going to put him at an outside linebacker, let him be a rush end, kind of like a Lawrence Taylor, wreak some havoc in the backfield? What do you think?
Yeah, you're Goodry. I have problems pronouncing this name. Yeah, they're going to play him. They're going to play him in some rush situations. They initially were talking about were speaking to us on like playing him kind of at that wheel linebacker position, but he wants to play on the. He's going to be on the edge. So they're going to create a package or whatever to have him make. They want to use the assets that he has, and that's his pass rushing abilities. So they're going to have him on the edge and play a little linebacker.
I love to hear that. Booker Pickett Sr. is with us here. He joins Bruce Warner and I on Locked On Canes. Now, Booker, your younger son, Cannon, is a top offensive lineman in the class of 2026. And, I know some people who don't follow recruiting are like 2026. There's a lot already happening with 2027s are getting recruited heavily. And your son is your other son is one of the top guys. How crazy has the recruiting process already got for Cannon? And I'm hoping Miami has been in steady touch there.
Yeah, Miami has offered Cannon. His process is just really starting to pick up steam. Got Booker out of the way. Now he's on the scene, and Cannon is going to be he's a beast, right? He's a legit 6'5", 280, and he looks like he's like 220. And he can move. So yeah, so the process, he's getting a lot of attention now. The coaches and different universities are stopping by the school every day. But he's a guy. He's a dog as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how the process has unfolded. It's like he's being recruited twice. He was there with Booker and seen he's been all over the country, so he's competing. Cannon will be down there this weekend with the 5-on-5, 7-on-7 big battle you guys have down there.
That's
He's
awesome.
with a team called California Power, and he's been competing with that team for the past 2 years. So he's ready. He's ready.
So when he gets to his time to make his announcement, you'll announce it on this show with me and Alex.
We'll stream it. If nothing else, if you want to do the announcement at your house or where at his high school, we'll stream it.
Where you're streaming? Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that, Alex. And
yeah. I'll be happy to stream it. I'll come up to. He's at. Is he at Wharton like Booker?
Yeah.
I'll come up there and stream it. I would be happy to.
Okay, we're gonna hold you guys to that.
Hey, you got it, man. And we're gonna hold you to it too. And
Yeah. We'll see what happens. It's still early on. I mean, he's just he's a sophomore now, transitioning to his junior year. So we'll see.
So is Junior early enrollee? He's in?
No, he's not. He's going to finish out his traditional high school calendar, and he'll be there in May. He'll be in Miami in May.
Do you think a red shirt this year?
That's on Booker. That they haven't said it. Mario and Jason. They're going to play the guys who deserve to play, who earn it. You know. So we'll see. I mean, if he red shirts, he red shirts. If not, he plays. That I'm okay with either.
You know, something else on recruiting before we talk about your time at Miami. You know, so another thing I should mention with these class of 2024 rankings, the latest update on 24/7, Miami officially has the best defensive line class in the country, with your son being a part of that. So the best defensive line class in the country. You talk about, you know, Booker loving to compete, having the chip on his shoulder. The competition, even, you know, within that D-line room and the edge rushers, it's going to be crazy. I mean, coming in with a guy like Marquise Lightfoot, Cole McConaughey out of Alabama, I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I think he's very underrated. They got these 5-star defensive tackles coming out of the woodwork. I mean, but Booker's got to be excited to be part of a group like that.
He is extremely excited, and that's one of the. To be honest, we had that conversation. I was like, Booker, you see, you know, they have this guy, that guy. He was like, I don't care. He's like, I'm a Kane, and I'm going to compete. Those guys aren't better than me, so let's get it. So he already has the mentality that's going to you know, push him to the top. Hopefully, he doesn't fear competition at all. I mean, that's what he wants. You know, he was just like, he told me, iron sharpen iron. Will be the best. I want to be with the best. I want to compete against the best, and I want to show the best that I am the best. So that's his mentality. So I'm like, okay.
Well, that's the attitude that's been missing around here for quite a while, Booker. Yeah. That attitude, you know, it's like people just want to run away. They don't start. They quit. We need an attitude like that from a lot of these guys, and I think Mario is starting to rebuild what they call a culture. I remember Butch, when he had a restart, he kept on saying culture, and they got the culture. And look at the team the players he got. So, yeah, you should be very proud of your son. He's made himself quite a name, and that's good. And being on this show, we really appreciate you being here, because this has been a hot topic. And when I told Alex about a week or so ago, I said, I can get Booker on here. He got all excited. I think he's more excited. I've never seen him like this. This is cool. You know?
Well, and it's funny because to take you inside that conversation, Booker, so originally we were talking about this after the Under Armour game. And then so like a couple weeks after that, I'm like, ooh, well, like it may not be as much of a hot topic. And then he goes out and dominates in the Polynesian Bowl as well. I'm like, we're right back. Booker Pickett Jr. is right at the top of the conversation again.
Yeah.
So it worked out so well. And I want to talk about Booker Sr., your time at Miami when we come back, because this was when the toughest opponent Miami ever faced was on the Greentree practice field. And that's what we're trying to bring back at the U. So you guys want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet with Booker Pickett Sr. joining Bruce Warner and me right here on Locked On Canes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen today. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. Guys, make sure you're checking out the new Locked On College Football show with my pal Spencer McLaughlin. He does a fantastic job taking you through all the national stories and headlines. He's in, I think, week 2 of his show. He's already had me on to talk about Cam Ward last week. Hopefully he'll be having me on at some point during the season to talk about the breakout freshman season that Booker Pickett Jr. is having. We're joined here by Booker Pickett Sr. Now, you played at Miami. Correct me if I'm wrong on the years, if I'm off by a year or two. Was it 92 to 97 you were at the U?
Yeah, that's correct, Alex. Absolutely.
Bruce actually told me that, so I cheated off of Bruce's notes.
That's cool. That's cool.
So when you were there, so that was you played for both Dennis and Butch. What was a typical day on Greentree? Because you guys used to do what, 2-a-days and probably 3-a-days back then.
Yeah. Oh, back then it was brutal. It was 2-a-days, and give props to my classmate. The 92 class was the #1 class in the nation. Just saying. But anyway, so it was right after the national championship, so that's expected. But the practice on Greentree, I mean, that was my first practice. I remember like it was yesterday. Sitting on the sideline, and they recruited me as a linebacker. And on the field is Jesse Armstead, Michael Barrow, Darius Smith at linebacker, right? Warren Sapp, Pat Riley at defensive tackle, Ryan McNeil at corner, Lamar Thomas on the other side. And the practice was so competitive. There was so much trash talking. I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But it was so competitive. I've never seen an environment. I mean, obviously you don't see that in high school. I didn't go to the All American games or anything like that. But that first day of practice is when I realized that, Miami is really, really special. Greentree is that it's legendary. The practices and the competitions and the going after each other we had, and coaches going at each other. I mean, it was crazy. So if Mario can cultivate something similar, we're on our way back. I'm sure that Mario remembers that as well as I. But that was the games were easy. The games were
Everybody
easy.
says that, Booker. Everybody says that.
You look forward to the game because practice was so brutal and so competitive on every single level. 1-on-1s, pass rush, inside drill, 7-on-7. It was all out competition. Competing the best against the best, for an hour and a half. So,
and also, I remember because I was going to the practices before you got there and after, but the defense is dominated. The offense couldn't even move the damn ball. It was just, my God, it took a personal.
Yeah. There were times. So Dennis Erickson was my coach for the first couple of years, and there were times where he just said, "Defense, get off the field. Bring in the scout to you so we can get a play, so we can run a play. You can't run a play against this defense." Yeah, that is the truth. That happened. So yeah, those are the days. And it looked like Mario was getting there. And I'm hoping that the class like they had last year with Bain, this class coming in is highly rated. They still have some guys there that can play. So let's put it all together. Let's put Miami back on the map.
And Mario was still there when you got there. Your first year was his last year. You were telling us, did you get the sense even back then that this guy's probably going to be a future coach? And do you get the feeling, obviously you trust him enough to send your son to play for him, but do you get the feeling he could be the guy to bring Miami back?
Yeah, I think he could be the guy to bring Miami back. As a player back then, I was a freshman. I didn't see him as being a coach. I had no idea that he would ever be a coach. Still a good dude, but I much props to Mario for advancing his career and coming to coach and doing it in the path that he's taken. And he's had some great mentors on the way. So yeah, I did have confidence, and I told Mario, "Hey man, this is my son. This is personal." He's like, "You bet it is, brother." so yeah, so I have faith and confidence there.
So you had the #1 class. Who else came in there with you in '92 that we would know?
Okay, so we had Danielle Ferguson, Kenny Holmes, Carlos Jones, Jay Ina, Dwayne Starks was added to our class later. Yeah. So was Earl Little. Earl Little had transferred from Michigan back into the class. Oh man, I hope you guys ain't watching this.
When did Marlon?
Twan Russell, my dog. Twan Russell, Chris Gibbs.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
When did Marlon Barnes come? After you?
He came a year after me.
Yeah.
Oh, my red.
That was terrible.
R.I.P. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Right. He's a good guy too. Good guy.
Yeah. Well,
What about
Booker.
Ryan Collins.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Collins was a year before me.
Oh, before you. I know you guys were there together at some point. I just don't keep track of who got there when.
Yeah, it's hard. You group us all. The teams all together. It's kind of, even I have problems sometimes identifying what class was he. Was he older, younger? Yeah, so it's common.
Now, and you were Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, was there when you were there. Was he already talking in third person? Was he doing the whole shtick already at that point?
At that point, he was just Dewey. Nah, he didn't do all of that. We called him Dewey the Destroyer. Actually,
Wow.
He was, when you travel for games, Dewey was actually my roommate. So got a special relationship with him. Good guy.
And it's amazing. Like, and obviously he was a heck of a football player, but just such a personality later on. An amazing athlete to do what he did in pro wrestling and doing his own stunts and all that. Did he ever talk about wanted to be a movie star or a wrestler at that point?
No, we all knew his dad wrestled, but we didn't. I don't know. We did at the time he was at the U. He was just Dewey the Destroyer. So I didn't project, or at least I didn't see him becoming the personality that he is now. He always had a big personality, but to see Dwayne Dewey, transition to The Rock, and then it's like so surreal.
And that was
Man, that's Dewey. I remember on Greentree. I remember him competing against the guys. Yeah.
Have you seen him at all? Have you seen him or spoken to him at all?
I haven't seen him in years. The last time I saw him, it was at a WWE event that he was completely out of it, but he was there. He was here in Tampa, and he brought me backstage. My kids they're like, you don't know The Rock. You don't know The Rock. I'm like, I can play with this dude was, like, yeah. So when Dwayne, when he saw me, he was like, hey, Book, come over here. They're like, so,
yeah, daddy's important, but not like The Rock.
Right,
That is amazing. Well, Booker Pickett, we appreciate your time so much, and I'm so happy for your family now. Seeing Booker Jr. He's going to take the U by storm with Cannon, and your nephew as well. DJ is shooting up the recruiting rankings. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time. We love the stories as well. So we're going to keep bugging you to come back on, Booker. So I hope you're going to have to block Bruce's number or something.
No, absolutely. I love
This is what I want.
I'm a low-key fan, Alex. Been watching you for a while, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation to come on the show. Thank you, Bruce. It's been a pleasure. I'll come back anytime, guys.
Hey, the week before the spring game, they have a alumni weekend. It's a practice. So come down, bring your son, and I'll see you on the field because I go there every year.
Yeah.
All right? You do that? All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. This was an exciting moment for Alex and me. It was great.
No, thank you guys for inviting me, and I wish you guys well. Like I said, Alex, low-key fan, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. There's no better compliment. So thank everybody so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen, your first watch today. Huge thanks to Booker Pickett Sr. Huge thanks to Bruce Warner, and we will talk to everybody again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.